So now that new media is changing the game, do we really even need Hollywood anymore? Well, we're going to talk about that and more on today's episode of the Geek Watch podcast.
This is the Geek Watch podcast with Brian Hatcher and Mandy Petrie.
Greetings, Geek Watchers, and welcome to episode 260 of the Geek Watch podcast. I'm Brian Hatcher, and with me, as always, Geek Watch's very own resident geek goddess, Mandy Petrie.
Hello, Brian.
And so I'd like to start out today. I am going to have to mention it because this happened this week. We've heard from someone that we haven't heard from for a year and a half for good reason. But Neil Gaiman posted a blog recently. I felt like we needed to talk about it for just a moment, but
I was unaware of this. Okay.
Yes, he posted this week, and we hadn't heard from him for a while, and understandably so. It wasn't a long blog, but it was to say this has been a rough year and a half for him, and the accusations made toward him, that didn't happen.
Oh.
He pointed to a blog by someone who has spent a lot of time posting about how Neil Gaiman is innocent. Neil Gaiman made a point to link to this person's blog and say that he, unlike others, is a real journalist. Neil Gaiman, being a journalist, should know. And he also wanted to mention that, hey, I've been writing a book.
Okay.
That went over just about as well as you can imagine.
So this real journalist, are they bringing proof? Are they bringing records? Are they bringing the receipts? And
No.
There's nothing that you were not in contact with the victim or anything that might exonerate him in any way.
For the most part, it's been things like, if she really had been assaulted, why is she waiting until now to talk about it?
The same old song and dance.
That's what we're looking at.
Yep. The same old song and dance.
Yeah, unfortunately so. I bring it up, and why I think it affected me to a degree is this was something I haven't had to think about for a while. I've had other things to think about. And this comes up out of nowhere. And now I'm back down this rabbit hole for a minute. I have to say that if I had my druthers, I wish that he was innocent, even though that means we've got 9 women who are just liars. I would love very much for him to be innocent. He could clear his name and everything could go back to the way that it was. I would say that the last thing I would ever want would be for things to go back to the way that they were, where he was guilty and nobody knew about it and he got away with it.
People didn't believe the victims.
As much as I would love to be excited about a new book by Neil Gaiman, and supposedly from what he said, this is going to be one of his best pieces of writing he's ever done. It's an extensive piece of work and brand spanking new. As much as I would love to live in a world where I could be excited about this, well, I can't be. I don't even know where he's going to get it published. The publisher that he's been going through, I don't think is going to deal with him anymore. The press is just too much. Of course, we live in a world where self-publishing is a possibility.
Right, yeah.
So he could self-publish it. It might be out there. It's just I can't bring myself to read it. I know it's going to be brilliant. I know it's going to be a great read, but I just can't bring myself to do it. So I guess instead I'll continue to read the N.K. Jemisin's books that I'm reading right now.
Excellent.
Which I'm enjoying a great deal. There's a lot of great novels and short stories out there by people who have not sexually assaulted other people.
Yeah.
So we'll just stick with that. Let's get off of that really quickly and let's talk about a success story. Let's talk about The Iron Lung.
I have heard of The Iron Lung. I have not seen it or anything.
I haven't had a chance to see it yet. It was number 2 opening behind Get Help, which is a new Sam Raimi film.
Yes, which I'm dying to see.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that as well.
It's like 2 different Stephen King stories had a baby.
Yeah.
It is like Misery and Survivor type had a baby, and now we get to watch what that looked like.
Oh, yes. Here's the thing. I was excited about the Multiverse of Madness movie that he directed, and that didn't quite hit. So I don't think he's perfect, but I am definitely looking forward to that. I did want to talk a little bit about Iron Lung specifically because it is definitely some out of the box thinking
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to movie making. The producer, writer, and star of this movie, Mark Fischbach, known mostly on YouTube as Markiplier, who started out years ago as a reaction YouTuber,
Yes.
took about $2 million of his own money and made this movie. He didn't make it through a studio. He didn't bring in any other producers. There wasn't any Kickstarter. He footed the bill for the whole thing himself.
Yeah.
He did the writing all himself. Like in YouTube, where you are the writer, the producer, and the front of camera talent.
It was his wheelhouse. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just done to a larger degree. Once he made this movie, he didn't sell the movie to a studio. He didn't even go to a distributor to distribute it for him. He just basically told people in his audience, hey, call your local theater and say, I'd like to see Iron Lung, and let's see what happens. A lot of theaters were like, sure, what the heck? It got to a place where AMC made a deal with Markiplier. They said, oh, get us the movie and we'll
show it on the screens.
We'll show it on screens. And it didn't have a massive release like a lot of movies do.
Right,
but
there's no red carpet.
Yeah, well, they had a little something like a red carpet.
Did they? Okay, good.
They did. But, it didn't have as wide a release as a lot of movies get. But it had a really good release, and certainly enough that it was able to wind up as number 2 on the chart. And it had a good foreign film showing well.
I know it generated some buzz.
It definitely did. And for a couple of reasons. Number one, because the box office reports took Iron Lung off the reports for about a day.
Yes, that's what I've been hearing about. They don't count it as a movie, and because it's an independent film. It is everything that we consider an independent film. We've never taken that away from any other film.
But here's the difference, and I think this is the reason why this is an important film and why this is about to change the game. Now, what you may remember is back in 1948, we had a rule, it was passed into law. Basically, it made it illegal for movie studios to own movie theaters. Up to that point, it was like Fox owned movie theaters.
Right, and they only showed their movies at those theaters. And if you wanted to see a 20th century movie, you go to the 20th century, and then they did the merger of 20th Century Fox.
Right. And
MGM movies.
So around 1938, there were a lot of court cases about monopolies. So in 1948, the Paramount Accords stated that movie studios could no longer own movie theaters. This allowed independent movies to be shown in theaters. Fostering the development of independent cinema, Fox wasn't showing Warner Brothers films, much less independent film. They split that up because studios were telling theaters they had to buy movies in packages. If you wanted to show Avengers Doomsday, you had to show Lightyear.
Oh, okay.
It's not going to make any money, but you got to buy it. It was like Diamond Distributing in comic books. They basically told you what books you had to buy. So you couldn't just buy the ones you knew would sell. You were forced to buy stuff that you knew wasn't going to sell.
Right.
Now in 2020, a lot of that went away. And that's why you now have Sony buying Alamo Drafthouse. You're starting to see theaters getting back into the owning a movie theater business. Although a lot of studios don't want to do that.
Right, yeah.
Because it's a different business. Theaters can be a loss leader. Plus, it seems like studios have this passion now of getting stuff out of theaters
and onto streaming.
Onto streaming. And I think that's part of what's really opened things up for movies like The Iron Lung. You look at CinemaCon last year, where theater owners, the National Association of Theater Owners, meet together and studios pitch movies to them. Well, at the last CinemaCon, you had studios lecturing these people about how they needed to fix the problems in theaters. They got a talking to that I'm sure they didn't really appreciate, especially in a climate where they feel like the studios are stabbing them in the back.
Right.
You're looking at how quickly movies that are still in theaters are now getting digital releases. And they feel like the studios are the enemy, but they're dependent upon them.
Yep.
Because you're a movie theater. You got to have movies. If movie studios don't give you movies, then where do you get them? A movie like The Iron Lung would not have had a whole lot of a chance of being played in a theater because theater owners would be worried that the studios would be like, if you play this film, we're going to cut you out.
But then you have this massive fan base saying, we will come to your theater if you play this.
Exactly. The thing is, they're not going to really be worried that the movie studios are not going to send them movies The digital streaming side of things isn't 100%. So they still do need movies in theaters, at least for now. But also, when they don't, they're going to stop sending them. So it's like, what are you risking? They're going to be undercutting us in 3 months anyway. What loyalty do we owe them when they don't seem to owe any to us?
Right.
In a world where a Markiplier can spend $2 million to make a movie, they can show the cost is negligible because we don't do celluloid movies anymore. It's all digital.
Right.
You can broadcast one digital copy to all the theaters and you're set to go.
Yep.
For $2 million, Markiplier can make a movie that people will come and watch because he doesn't have a lot of overhead with a distributor, a studio, and all of that.
And all of his press tours are basically his YouTube channel.
Exactly. And so the overhead is going to be very low for him, which means that not only can he allow the theaters to take a bigger cut of the money, where it wouldn't be possible for a studio to do that because they got so much overhead, the money that Markiplier gets, he gets to keep all of it.
Yep.
It's all his. When you look at a movie that's made $20-some million domestically, that's a huge chunk of change. And he's getting millions back from it so he can make more films. We're in a situation now where the gatekeepers are going away. I mean, I can remember years ago, self-publishing a book meant you were not a real writer.
Right.
Now self-publishing is a real thing that makes sense for a lot of people. Publishing your own music and keeping your own masters, even 10 years ago, would have been thought impossible. Now people can put out their own music and publish it for people to listen to and make a good chunk of change doing it.
Yes.
They don't have to wait to get signed by a record label. The idea that movies can go the same route in a world where learning how to make your own stuff is so much easier, where movie grade tools are out there to use for everybody.
They always bring up everything everywhere all at once.
Yeah.
That was people who trained themselves to do special effects.
Yeah. And they used Adobe After Effects to do a lot of that stuff, which is a program I have. Plus, I've got a camera that could record 4K in my phone.
Yep.
All that really stands in somebody's way when it comes to producing a film is how to get it to where people can see it. In a lot of situations, that used to be YouTube, but now you see people crossing over. I mean, you had the Rocka twins made a horror film a couple of years ago. They started out as YouTubers and made a legit film that broke through. They went through the studio system to do it.
Right. It used to be like you would do proof of concept. You'd make it yourself, and then a studio would take it and sometimes ruin the concept.
Exactly.
Oculus, I've seen that kind of YouTube look, and the one where the woman appeared when the lights were out.
Lights out.
Lights out, yes.
Yeah. So you had the Rocka twins, and then you had Chris Stuckman, who was on YouTube as a movie reviewer, who wrote and directed a film that wound up in theaters. Content creators have honed their skills to a degree where they are now being able to produce stuff. And in a world where movie studios are not very reliable at this point, theaters need to get content from somewhere. And if the content is good and people will come see it, we're starting to see the second coming of independent cinema. There was a point, of course, in the 40s and 50s where you saw a lot of exploitation films, a lot of the gory horror films.
Oh, yes. The
came out.
Blood and boobs era. Blood and boobs.
Yes. The roughies and all of that came from theaters being able to open up. And then you had a bit of renaissance in the 90s when you had people like Quentin Tarantino coming out and the Weinsteins, who at the time were taking a chance on new people who people hadn't heard of. People like Robert Rodriguez, Quentin Tarantino.
Even Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
So the 90s was a moment where a lot of that picked up, although that was still to some degree under the studio system. This next renaissance of independent film, it's gotten to a place now where it's like, hey, we don't even need a studio anymore. We don't need a distributor anymore. If we can reach out to a theater or a theater chain and say, hey, we got something, they're going to be like, yeah.
Yep.
I can definitely tell you, especially with the fact that Iron Lung dropped off a chart for a day, you can definitely tell that there was some stuff going on in the background going, hey, we can't acknowledge that this is doing well. This is going to screw up our meal ticket.
But the fans won't let...
This is one of those situations where you're not going to get the toothpaste back into the tube.
Yeah, and I have a funny story. It happened this week and last week. You know the video game that I play where I'm dating
Yes.
virtual men and I fight monsters and aliens with them. Love and Deep Space.
Yeah.
This is massive. Tens of millions of people play this. In China, for its 2-year anniversary, they built a theme park for it and hired actors. And the actors had handlers, just like in Disney World. How massive this is. The actor who dubs the voice of my main husband, Silas, did a commercial where he voiced a salsa jar. Everyone, all the fans recognized, they said, that's Silas voicing that salsa jar. Their website sold out. People were buying it in stores. Fans were mad that they had to buy the salsa that wasn't the salsa that he portrayed because there were 3 different salsas on the commercial and he was the medium salsa. And they had to buy mild or hot. And they're like, this is not the right salsa. I need Silas's salsa. That is the power of fans.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. So when the fans say, we want our movie in this theater and we will make you money,
Oh, yeah.
we will sell out your salsa just because of a voice on a commercial.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The influencer economy is real, and it's been around for a while, but we are now seeing it come to fruition. Although it's funny to describe her as an independent, you think of Taylor Swift and what she's been able to do. She's made herself a billionaire by going straight to the fans on a bunch of things.
Yeah, she had to take her music back,
Yeah.
basically.
And she started it out by re-recording everything and
Yes.
doing the Taylor's version to the point where she made her original recordings so useless that she wound up being able to buy them back. And so now she owns the whole thing. That spirit of entrepreneurship, you're seeing it all over the place. Billie Eilish records her music out of her brother's bedroom.
Aw.
So it was a decade ago when you had a lot of musical acts that started out on YouTube.
Yep. I mean, didn't Justin Bieber start
Justin
on?
Bieber was like one of the
And
first.
Usher picked him up. And
Yeah. So there is a lot of that entrepreneurial, independent spirit coming back in a real way. And things are really starting to open up. If Hollywood isn't nervous right now, they better get that way.
Yep.
Because you can definitely tell at this point that they're not exactly sure what makes a good movie, what makes people excited. All they really know is that they don't have the formula. Although you can tell that there have been moments where fans have swayed them in a certain way. I mean, you can look at the first Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes.
Fix
this.
Yeah,
Fix this for us.
To such a degree, that character disappeared except for one movie, the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers live action.
In a parody.
Yeah, in a parody where he shows up. It's like, oh my God, it's Ugly Sonic. But fan service is a huge thing. I mean, Seth Rogen just released a new episode of The Muppet Show.
And I watched it and I loved it.
Yeah.
But I love The Muppet Show, so it's hard for me not to love The Muppets.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot of fan service, of course, the He-Man movie. Hollywood is definitely desperate to catch the attention of the rabid fan to the degree that they'll do stupid things like put Morbius back into the theaters because they think that meme means, hey, they want to see Morbius again. No, that's not what's going on. But it is like your dad trying to say Cap or Skibbity, Ohio. Now you have things like Michael Bay doing a Skibbity toilet movie, which I'm still not convinced is a real thing.
That can't be real, can it? They
I will
made
tell you this, if
Battleship.
I'm being punked, which is very possible because that would be my first expectation, I guess Michael Bay's in on it.
They made Battleships. And they made Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
Yeah.
Which really wasn't bad because it was kind of like that Richard Matheson
Yeah.
story.
But the truth is, we are now at a place where things have opened up for people in a huge way. And because of that, that's allowing, for good and for bad, keep in mind, when everybody can make a movie, that means anybody can make a movie.
Yes.
And some of that stuff ain't good.
Right.
But the thing is, there was a place where talent could be stifled because of gatekeepers. And that is now no longer as prominent as it was, and it's going away quickly. That's a problem for Hollywood because Hollywood has never been about talent. It's been about enabling talent and getting as much money out of them as possible.
Exploiting talent.
Exactly. The problem is technology, for good or for bad, is taking Hollywood's place. The Darren Aronofsky 1776 shorts he's been making, he's been using AI for the whole thing. which means that somebody with talent can take tools available to anybody and make something. What use is Hollywood? It was at least to give people a place to show their stuff. But if you don't need them for that, what do you need them for? Well, I guess we'll see.
We shall see.
And with that said, we come to the end of episode 260. Thank you for listening, and tune in next time for the latest in geek news and views with the Geek Watch podcast. For Mandy Petrie, this is Brian Hatcher, reminding all the Geek Watchers out there, we're all geeky about something. Be proud of yours. See you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Geek Watch podcast. If you enjoyed this program, don't forget to like and subscribe on your preferred platform and share this podcast on your social media. For links to all the ways you can listen to the Geek Watch podcast, as well as leave comments and suggestions, visit our website at geekwatch.net. The Geek Watch podcast is a Hanging J production.